I'm sure you've all heard the news. Last week, the National Association of Realtors settled an antitrust lawsuit for $418 million. Here's what you should know about that settlement. The intent of the settlement is to uncouple buyer broker fees and listing agent fees, allowing sellers, buyers, and their agents to negotiate how much a broker gets paid and who pays it. In a nutshell, the settlement requires that agents disclose that broker compensation is fully negotiable. Listing agents or sellers will no longer have to offer buyer broker compensation and will be prevented from publishing any such compensation on the MLS or the likes of Redfin and Zillow. And all buyer brokers will have to have a written agreement with a buyer prior to showing them any homes. In Washington, much of this is already in place. Agent fees have been negotiable for at least the 10 years I've been in the business. For some years now, the offer of buyer broker compensation has been entirely optional, and as of January this year, buyer brokers must have a buyer broker services agreement in place before providing real estate services to buyers. And this agreement clearly details the compensation expectations and who pays it. Honestly, for us, the biggest change will come from the elimination of published buyer broker fees on the MLS. And there's a lot more questions around that than we have answers for right now. Perhaps it will lead to an opportunity for a lower fee structure in the long run. Who knows how it will play out? But for right now, what we know is this. You're hiring a real estate agent because of the expertise they provide, and you should rely on that person to guide you through buying or selling a home. This lawsuit is gonna bring about change, but these changes mean more transparency and, I believe, better representation for everyone. The good agents are still gonna be there to represent you, to guide you, and to negotiate for you and protect your best interests. We know that the value of a home and the experience you have in a real estate transaction is greatly impacted by the agent or the agents that represent you. This will continue to be true, perhaps more so than ever. Personally, I don't believe that not paying buyer agent compensation will save the seller any money. It's a bit like for sale by owner transactions today, which typically sell for significantly less than agent marketed sales. I also don't believe that house prices will fall as a result of these new changes, as I don't see sellers being willing to accept a lower list or contract price simply because they may or may not be paying as much to a buyer broker. And what about those homes that sell without buyer broker representation, or when little or no buyer broker compensation is being offered? Do you really think an agent that's working for free or for a small fixed fee will be as invested in navigating buyers through the process? Buyers, do you really think that saving 1 to 3% on buyer broker compensation, you're really saving money? Perhaps some listing agents will write up a buyer contract for a small fixed fee. Perhaps they'll represent both buyers and sellers in the same transaction. It happens today, but does it lead to the best outcomes for either buyer or seller? I don't believe so. Could it be that by offering fair buyer broker compensation, whether that's paid for by the seller or the buyer, all parties actually gain additional support, value, and resources and are ultimately better protected in the transaction? That's certainly what I believe. The settlement has yet to obtain both preliminary and final approval from the federal courts, and that could take a few months. For me, my focus remains on protecting my clients and helping you all achieve your goals and protecting your long-term investment as best I can. Of course, you're going to have questions, and this is going to continue to develop over the next few months. And there's going to be a lot of national news, and I hate to say it, some misinformation that comes with it. But I welcome the opportunity to chat with anyone further about this. Let's have a conversation.